Our Japanese colleagues, our neighbors, have certainly crossed the line of propriety with their completely unacceptable statements. When we learned how Ms. Takeichi and her foreign minister had characterized our president's visit to his own territory and his own citizens, we immediately summoned the Japanese ambassador. We will discuss both the conduct of the Japanese leadership regarding President Putin's visit to the Russian island of Iturup and the way the ambassador ought to conduct. Our Japanese colleagues, our neighbors, have certainly crossed the line of propriety with their completely unacceptable statements claiming that the President of the Russian Federation cannot visit any part of the territory of the Russian Federation. As for our ambassadors, yes, the Russian ambassador was summoned to the Japanese Foreign Ministry, where this protest was lodged against him. When we learned how Ms. Takeichi and her foreign minister had characterized our president's visit to his own territory and his own citizens, we immediately summoned the Japanese ambassador. The response from the embassy was rather vague. They hemmed and hawed before explaining that he could not come on either Friday the 14th or Monday, August 17th, that is, today, claiming he was either out of Moscow or feeling unwell. We never quite got a clear picture of the situation. This is certainly surprising, given that the ambassador is known for his boundless energy. In any case, we have summoned the ambassador. He is due to come to the foreign ministry, and we will discuss both the conduct of the Japanese leadership regarding President Putin's visit to the Russian island of Iturup and the way the ambassador ought to conduct his work in the host country, respecting its laws and the procedures applicable to foreign diplomats in that country, in this instance, Russia.
As Japan erupted over the Kuril Islands, Putin's top aide Dmitry Medvedev warned Tokyo of what he called monstrous consequences if it continued challenging Russian control. On August 13th, Medvedev said the Kuril Islands would forever remain Russian territory, dismissing any possibility that Moscow would reopen sovereignty negotiations with Japan. The former Russian president openly mocked Tokyo's claim that the islands are Japanese land, accusing Prime Minister Sanai Takeichi of repeating arguments that would change nothing on the ground. Medvedev said, and I quote, "Japan's PM Takeichi can prattle on all she likes about the Kuril Islands being historically Japanese, but this chatter won't change a thing. They were, are, and will remain Russian land. Anyone who fails to understand this will face the monstrous consequences of their delusion." Unquote. The warning came after Tokyo escalated its diplomatic protest over Putin's visit to Iturup, one of 4 islands claimed by Japan. Vladimir Putin's first visit to the Kuril Islands has triggered a fresh protest from Tokyo, reopening one of the most deeply rooted territorial disputes in the Asia-Pacific. On August 13th, Vladimir Putin visited Iturup, an island in the Russian-controlled Kuril chain that Japan claims as part of its northern territories. The trip marked Putin's first in-person visit to the disputed Pacific island chain, sending a clear signal that Moscow has no intention of softening its control. Putin toured a fish processing plant, a hospital and a school on Iturup, using a civilian visit to underline Russia's administration and long-term presence on the island. The Russian president also met Sakhalin Governor Valery Limarenko, linking the disputed island to Moscow's wider governance and development plans for the Far East. Japan immediately protested Putin's visit to Iturup, which Tokyo calls Etorofu, saying the trip directly contradicts Japan's long-standing sovereignty position. Tokyo claims Iturup and 3 other southern Kuril Islands as its northern territories, arguing that they were unlawfully taken by the Soviet Union at the end of World War II. Japan's foreign minister said the islands remain Japanese territory under international law, insisting Tokyo has never accepted Russia's control of the disputed chain. Prime Minister Sanai Takeichi also condemned Putin's trip, saying it hurt Japanese public sentiment and could make any long-term repair in bilateral ties far more difficult.
As the government of Japan, we have repeatedly made similar requests to the Russian side that President Putin refrain from visiting the northern territories. Nevertheless, we strongly protest President Putin's visit to Etorofu Island today. The northern territories are an inherent part of Japan's territory, both historically and under international law. This latest visit to Etorofu Island by the incumbent president of Russia runs contrary to Japan's consistent position regarding the northern territories. Furthermore, it hurts the feelings of the Japanese people and is absolutely unacceptable. Following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the Japan-Russia relationship has been in a difficult state. Even under such circumstances, Japan has made every possible effort to improve the relationship. However, this visit will only deepen negative sentiment towards Russia and Japan and make it harder to rebuild relations for the long term. For Japan, issues involving the Northern Territories, particularly matters concerning former island residents visiting family graves, are humanitarian issues. Thus, we have kept channels for dialogue open and have continued to address these matters through talks. But the current situation is extremely regrettable. As for our response going forward, the government will carefully consider appropriate measures.
As Tokyo protested Putin's visit, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev sharply attacked Japan, accusing the U.S. ally of creating trouble by persisting with its territorial claim. Medvedev's remarks added a confrontational political edge to Putin's trip, suggesting Moscow now sees Japan's claim as part of a wider U.S.-backed pressure campaign in the Pacific. The Soviet Union seized the 4 southernmost Kuril Islands from Japan in the final days of World War II, establishing a dispute that still shapes relations between Moscow and Tokyo. This territorial conflict has prevented Russia and Japan from signing a formal peace treaty to officially end their World War II hostilities more than 8 decades later. Decades of negotiations have failed to produce a settlement, as Japan demands the return of all 4 islands while Russia refuses to surrender any territory it controls. Moscow has also expanded its military presence across the Kurils, building airstrips, barracks, coastal missile positions and air defense infrastructure near Japan's northern border. Putin's Kuril visit followed a wider tour through Russia's Far East, linking the island trip to a broader show of Moscow's military and political reach in the Pacific. Before arriving in Iturup, Putin visited Sakhalin and attended the final stage of Pacific Fleet exercises, where Russian naval forces rehearsed operations across the region. Moscow has reinforced its military presence across the Kurils in recent years, turning the island chain into a forward defensive belt between the Sea of Okhotsk and the open Pacific.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.